Welcome to the PT Coffee Cast, a podcast helping coffee-infused clinicians elevate their practice by realizing the tools they already possess. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the PT Coffee Cast, brought to you by The Movement. My name is Dalton, and alongside me today is my beautifully bearded friend, William. William, how are we doing today?
I'm doing good. I don't know if I'm quite living up to that name. My beard is like it's like at the lowest continuum that I would have it at, you know?
Yeah, which is like the max on my continuum.
Pretty much, right?
Yeah. Man, you did something pretty exciting not that long ago. Do you want to share?
Oh, I signed up for my first marathon.
Yeah. You heard it here first on the PT Coffee Cast. It's pretty hype.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm excited. It happens to be when you are also running your marathon to try to make a push for qualifying for Boston.
Yeah, so it's cool. It's going to be a lot of fun. And there's Lauren. Shout out to Lauren. Lauren's running a half marathon at the same race. We're going to get a whole squad out there, which I'm excited about.
Your brother, right?
My brother, yeah.
Shout out Connor.
I think I'm enjoying running so much now in my life that like when everyone else is like doing it too, it just makes me even more fired up.
I feel like, you know, when me and Rose first had Dallas and Archie, it was like just very much consuming our lives and like trying to figure out how that works and how does it work fitting in, you know, other things. And I think now I'm at a good place where I've sorted out some of those things and now really excited to like really feeling the pull towards running being a thing that like I'm really passionate about.
Yeah.
You know, not just like kind of like it, like I'm actually getting the bug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw some meme the other day. It's been going around the Instagram a lot, and it's like this reel of a guy running, and it's like if you're in your 30s, you're either getting married, having kids, or like running a marathon. And I was like, that's so accurate. Like, it's
so true.
Very, very accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, super excited to be back, guys. Thanks for tuning in. If you aren't subscribed to the podcast, make sure you head over to your podcast platforms and subscribe there. If you guys aren't following us on YouTube, head over there, follow us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. We put out the video episodes there each week. We put out some other fun content around physio-related things, and we're trying to get that up to 500 subscribers, so check that out. And subscribe. And then if you guys are interested in joining us for a free webinar, we have that coming up on, I think it's 2 weeks from today, as the recording of this is May 9th. It's going to be on how to overcome imposter syndrome. Will and I are going to take you through that. We have a decent amount of people signed up right now, but we'd love to get more of you guys on that webinar. So you can sign up in the show notes of this episode to join us. And then lastly, if you want to check out themovementmentorship.com, there's more stuff there around the mentorship for you to check out. But enough of that stuff. We'll dive into the episode for today. And today we're going to talk about when your client tells you that they can't do X. They can't run, they can't lift heavy weights, they can't squat, and how you can go about navigating that conversation. I feel like we get this a lot, and it's been something that probably Will and I have both gotten more lately, which is why we're bringing up this conversation. But I think learning how to best navigate these questions or these scenarios are super important. And I've definitely, as we've talked about, like preparing for this episode, like reflected back on like how my approach to navigating those conversations have changed over the course of our time as clinicians, just building skills in communication, building skills in like clinical knowledge, and just like how to navigate working with a wide range of people with different views on everything.
Yeah, and I think to kind of like just dial in the conversation a little bit more, like this isn't really someone, this is different than someone coming in and being like, you know, my goal is to get back squatting. Like this is like someone who has a knee issue, squatting has never really been in the conversation.
Right.
And then maybe they like, you're just talking and they bring up that they don't think they could ever squat, or they see someone else in the clinic doing another exercise and they're like, I would never be able to do that. Or they see a runner outside the window and they're like, I could never be a runner.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of just to like clarify.
No, for sure, that's good. Yeah, because it's a lot different if someone's like coming in and their goal is to get back to this. Like, yeah, these are more.
That's probably an easier conversation.
These are the people that are almost doubting their abilities and their limits, like for themselves. You know,
they're bringing it up. You haven't been working toward that goal necessarily. They're just bringing it up, and you're identifying that mindset of like that fixed mindset of like not being able to adapt or change, or their body isn't capable of doing something.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's even like the first step in the process is like just identifying and not letting that comment or thought drift away, and leaning into that. And I think, you know, in the past, for me anyway, I would have probably let that go and not really pulled on that thread more, when there's probably a lot you can gain from that, from diving into that. And I think like the first thing that, you know, we were talking about in terms of how, you know, maybe you can navigate this question is just like coming at it from a place of curiosity, and, you know, asking them a little bit more about, well, why do you think that? And kind of see where that goes.
And I think the reason we use the word curiosity is because I think that comes with like a less interrogative tone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also when you're curious about something, you're not necessarily trying to solve the problem right then and there. I think that's another way we probably have made mistakes in the past, is like you go into a conversation like that with the intent to solve that mindset right away.
Totally.
And that can be possible at times, right? Like depending on the relationship you have with someone. Like there's definitely clients of mine where it's a way more solid, trusting relationship that I could be like, I don't know if that's necessarily true, right? But with most people, I probably wouldn't take that approach. I would take more of a planting the seed, being curious. Like you mentioned that planting the seed, it's like I think sometimes that's the goal, is to just have them think about it a bit more, but not necessarily arrive at the conclusion that like, oh yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I like that, like the idea of it, you're not questioning to solve the problem, which is something we immediately always want to do as clinicians, is like, oh, you can't do this? Well, let's solve that problem and let's do this because we can easily do this, you know? But sometimes there's like more to it. And I think for me anyway, when someone is like, I could never do a box jump, you know, and I'm looking at this individual and I've been working within this individual and I know what they're capable of, it kind of takes me back a little bit that they would say something, and I actually am genuinely curious to know like, well, why do they think that? Because that's weird to me, because they're just knowing what they're capable of or what they've even talked about or watching them move and do stuff. It's like a box jump is something they could easily do. Like we could do this right now if like I could convince you to do it, you know? And so I'm always like more interested in like, okay, like what's behind this? Because often there's like more layers and deeper things there than just like being physically capable of doing it.
Yeah, you're trying to understand like what are the actual things that are maybe leading them to have that belief. Like, is it something to do with their injury history and what they think is going on at the tissue level? You know, is it experience with doing that thing that they've had in the past? Is it because they know somebody that's done that before and had a bad thing happen, you know? Is it because they read something or saw a video, or because you just want to understand, you know, where's this coming from before you can start to actually like unravel that a little bit.
Yeah, and I think like we were talking about it a little bit before this, but you're kind of using like permission-based questions or like coming from a place of curiosity as a way to kind of dip your toe into like the temperature of like where they're at with this conversation. Because like sometimes if someone was to say that, I'd be like, oh, I'd be curious to hear a little bit more from you why you don't think you could do a box jump. And then based off of those kind of responses, you can get a real sense for like, okay, how much does this person really want to talk about this or be open to it in this moment? And you can, if you're getting immediate walls and resistance and not getting, any kind of openness to the conversation, it's like, okay, cool. Like we know where this person's at with this, we can kind of steer away from it. And even that question can be the seed that needs to be planted for this client to think more about the situation. And then for me anyway, I would always like kind of parking lot that question or that idea and maybe come back to it at some other point in our time together. As much as I want to like know right then and there and fix it, it's probably not the time. So you can kind of tread on like where is that person at, and maybe they are open to it and you can have a conversation more.
Because someone can be saying the same thing but mean two different things, you know. Like ask me if why I can't squat.
Why do you think you can't squat?
I don't know, I just can't do it. Now ask me again.
Why do you think you can't squat?
I don't know, just think I can't do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like that second one, you could probably keep going in that conversation.
Totally.
Because my tone was like completely different. I wasn't like aggressive. It's like
you're pondering it, you're kind of thinking about it. Yeah.
But if someone's really getting on the defensive, you probably want to just move on, But like you said, hopefully that plants a bit of a seed that gets them thinking, and you're going to store that in your brain and your notes, because you can't just plant a seed and then leave it, right? You plant a seed so that you can come back to it, you can water it, nurture it a little bit. So maybe the next sessions in the future, you are maybe putting them in experiences that are similar, like they're on the continuum, and you're kind of trying to gradually prove to them that they are changing, they're capable of changing, they're maybe capable of doing that. And maybe gradually you are bringing it up a little bit more, or, as your relationship, as those conversations seem a little more
open,
like the doors are open. But the bottom line is, if they're not.
Yeah.
You're not going to force your way, because you're just not going to get the right outcome that you want there.
Yeah. And I think that's the process that I've always done is like, if they're shutting down on, it's like, okay, let's parking lot that. And then I'm always in my mind thinking, okay, how can I like show them through exercise or movement or even just questions that like maybe lead into that in a different way, that then we can bridge the gap and kind of bring it back around. And that's the way that you can kind of keep just like probing that and diving into it and moving it forward. And sometimes like it doesn't go anywhere and you don't actually need to ever like go there, right? Because like maybe that client ends up getting better, their knee's doing fine, and they're good and they do their thing and they move on, right? But I think a lot of times there's more to it, and from my experience, it often comes back around, and like we work through it in some way and end up gaining a lot from it. And I think like one thing that's really changed in my career is like I try to really understand and put myself in their shoes, and like that's what's so important about like asking a lot of questions on the initial assessment and kind of trying to get as much information from where that client is at. Because then I always try to insert myself into their shoes and think about like, okay, how would they be thinking about this? Because, we are so in it all the time, and we've been in this, we've helped people, we do a lot, we push ourselves, we know what our bodies are capable of. And we almost want to like force that upon other people and just assume that they see that as the same way. At least that's what I've done in the past. And I think it's natural for us to think that way, but I've tried to like check that at the door a little bit and then remind myself like, oh yeah, this person's not me. This person's at a different point in their journey. And like, I need to try to see it from their perspective, and like, how can we navigate it from that place versus like from where I see it.
And sometimes it's not an outcome-based thing, and you don't need to put the pressure on yourself to, for example, get them running or get them squatting heavy. It's not everybody wants to do either of those things. But there's something in a mindset like that that's worth exploring with someone, and worth maybe helping them see that, hey, if you wanted to, you probably could.
And that, to me, is the key, because you're right. It has nothing to do with the actual outcome of running, and it has everything to do with why their mindset is fixed in that way. And we talked about this on the last podcast about the mindset shift, and we really believe like that's what we're trying to cultivate in our clients. And we believe that like if you can cultivate that mindset shift around rehab, but also around like what you're capable of doing, that can really change your life in a lot of different aspects. And you can carry that with you beyond rehab, whether that be like the next injury you have, you can apply that same mindset to it, whether it be a goal of like wanting to maybe pursue a new physical activity, could translate to your life, to business, it can translate to a lot of different things. And I personally think like that is what I want to cultivate in people. And I think like if you can have people see that, it can really impact their overall health and their overall life outside of just rehab. And I think that's worth diving into and approaching with our clients.
Yeah, it's at least worth trying to plant a seed, get them to think a little bit more about it.
Yeah, because I think like we've talked about this many times on our podcast, but as physiotherapists, as healthcare professionals, I think we sit in a position to do a lot more for people's life, and the value that we can add to people's life is a lot more than just reducing their pain. In the way that we can set ourselves up as physiotherapists is a very, very great launching point for people to take back the control of their health in their life, because it's like almost like a very much a reset when you have something that's keeping you from doing either like something you love or like just your day-to-day life. And I think like that's super cool that we can really influence that.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
Cool. Anything else you want to
No.
add? Cool. Yeah. No, I think that's good. We got a little mini acting kind of session in there too.
Got to get those in when we can, right?
Yeah. So
Like
good.
there's some like main points there. It's when you're having a conversation like that, it's approaching with curiosity. It's trying to plant a seed, right? It's not worrying about the outcome too much. Gauging the temperature of a conversation, asking permission, right? Those are probably some of the big takeaways from.
Yeah, and putting yourself in their shoes and try to see it from their point of view, I think is the other one. But yeah, totally. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you aren't subscribed to this podcast, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our episodes. If you want to see our beautiful faces on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss out on our video episodes. We also put out some other videos there as well. We're trying to get that to 500 subscribers by the end of this year, so help us fulfill on our goal. And then if you guys want to join us for a free webinar around how to overcome imposter syndrome, you can do that by signing up in the show notes of this episode. That'll be in 2 weeks' time as of this recording. And then if you guys want to learn more about the mentorship, head over to themovementmentorship.com. Check that out. We'd love to hear from you. But that's all we got for today, guys. As always, stay caffeinated. Peace. Oh, my legs are so sore.